Good morning. This morning I'm going to share a pebble for your pocket. A story or a chapter called Who is the Buddha? I love this book. It's got all these nice, simple stories that teach about mindful living. The Buddha's path. After I read, then I'm going to sit and breathe in and out, and I invite you to join me in breathing. You can breathe wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you can be mindful of the breath. Hi Tina, good morning. We can be walking, standing, sitting, lying down. All postures are potential meditative postures. This is the traditional outline of the meditation postures. The four: walking, standing, sitting, lying down. In one of my favorite little Pali suttas, they talk about how we can practice mindfulness walking, sitting, standing, lying down, at work or at home with screaming children. The Buddha didn't just teach monastic people. He also taught people involved in the world, working. He provided paths for these kind of people too. So, yeah, I'm just saying that wherever you are, I hope that you can take a minute to breathe mindfully. Here, I have this opportunity to sit down every morning and share videos, but not everybody has the same opportunities, and I think even though we might be at work, we can still benefit from mindfulness. Also, I wanted to quickly comment. I just shared a post in the group as well about this, but a few people have been complaining that the group has too many questions or too much psychobabble. I don't think that's very nice, first of all, and I think it's also inaccurate. If we scroll through the group, we'll find many, many teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh, and that's what the group is. But also, these questions, people come to us with their suffering. These questions give us an opportunity to apply the teaching. So, maybe you've heard that saying about how you don't really know something until you can teach it. So when people share their problems in the group, they're asking for our advice, because we are people who take these teachings seriously. In our commenting, we can display what we've learned. We can share the teachings in response to suffering. And this is what Sangha is for. So, I just wanted to say that. But now, I'm going to read. Who is the Buddha? It's about 5 pages, both sides. So, we'll see how it goes. Thank you for joining me. Some years ago, I visited a village in India called Uruvela. 2,600 years ago, a man named Siddhartha lived near that village. Siddhartha is the man who later became known as the Buddha. The village of Uruvela remains very much the same as it was back then. There are no big buildings, no supermarkets, no freeways. It is very pleasant. The children have not changed either. When Siddhartha lived there, children from that village became his friends and brought him food and simple gifts. There is a river that runs near the village. It is where Siddhartha used to bathe. A grass called kusha grass still grows on the banks of that river. It is the same kind of grass that one of the children gave Siddhartha to use as a cushion to sit on. This child is the main character of Thay's book, Old Path, White Cloud, which is a retelling of the Buddha's story. From many sources, Thay brought it all together, and it's a wonderful telling of the Buddha's story. I suggest you find it. But this kid who gave Buddha some kusha grass to sit on, he just mentioned, I walked across the river and I cut some of the kusha grass and brought it home with me. This is Thay speaking. On the other side of the river, there is a forest. That is where Siddhartha sat in meditation under a tree called the Bodhi tree. It is under that tree that he became the Buddha. A Buddha is anyone who is awake, who is aware of everything that happens inside and around her, and who understands and loves deeply. Siddhartha became a fully awakened being, a Buddha. He is the Buddha that we have accepted as our teacher. He has said that each one of us has a seed of awakening within us, and that all of us are future Buddhas. When he was very young, a student of mine struggled with the question, who is the Buddha? The student's name was Hu, and this is his story. When Hu was 6 or 7 years old, he asked his father and mother if he could become a monk. Hu loved going to the Buddhist temple. He used to go there with his parents on new moon and full moon days to offer flowers, bananas, mangoes, and all kinds of exotic fruit to the Buddha. In the temple, Hu was always treated with kindness. When people came to the temple, they seemed more relaxed and friendly. Hu was aware that the head monk liked him. He would give Hu a banana or a mango every time he came. So that's why Hu loved going to the temple. One day he said, Mommy, I want to become a monk, and I want to live in the temple. I think he wanted to become a monk because he liked eating bananas. I don't blame him. In Vietnam, there are several kinds of bananas that are so delicious. Even though he was young, his father and mother decided to let him go to the temple as a novice. The head monk gave Hu a tiny brown robe to wear. In his nice new robe, he must have looked like a baby monk. When he first became a monk, Hu believed that the Buddha loved bananas, mangoes, and tangerines, because every time people came to the temple, they brought bananas, mangoes, tangerines, and other fruit, and placed him in front of the Buddha. In Hu's little head, that could only mean that the Buddha loved fruit very much. One evening, he waited in the temple until all the visitors had gone home. He stood very quietly outside the entrance of the Buddha hall. He checked to make sure no one else was around. Then he peered into the Buddha hall. The Buddha statue was as big as a real person. In Hu's very young mind, the statue was the Buddha. Thank you. Hu imagined that the Buddha sat very still all day long. And when the hall was empty, he reached out for a banana. Hu waited and waited, hoping to see the Buddha take one of the bananas piled in front of him. He waited for a long time, but he did not see the Buddha pick up a banana. He was baffled. He could not understand why the Buddha did not eat any of the bananas that people brought him. So why is this statue not picking up all the bananas and the fruits that the people bring. Who the little kid is wondering, why is this statue not the Buddha? Who did not dare ask the head monk? Because he was afraid that the monk would think he was silly. Actually, we all often feel like that. We do not dare ask questions because we are afraid we might be called silly. The same was true for Hu. And because he didn't dare ask, he was confused. I think I would have gone to someone and asked. But Hu did not ask anyone. Here's an illustration. As he grew older, one day it occurred to him that the Buddha statue was not the Buddha. What an achievement! This realization made him so happy. But then a new question arose. If the Buddha is not here, then where is the Buddha? If the Buddha is not in the temple, where is the Buddha? My children often think about this. They associate the Buddha with the statues that they see. And they ask me, are Buddhas real? And I say, yeah, Buddhas are real, but those statues are just statues. Every day, Hu saw people come to the temple and bow to the statue of the Buddha. But where was the Buddha? In Vietnam, people who practice Pure Land Buddhism believe that the Buddhas stay in the Pure Land, in the direction of the West. One day, Hu overheard someone saying that the Pure Land was the home of the Buddhas. This made Hu believe that the Buddha was in the Pure Land, which made him very unhappy. Why, he wondered, did the Buddha choose to live so far away from the people? So this created another question in his mind. I tell my children that the Pure Land is here now, and that when we practice continual mindfulness, then we'll see it. I met Hu when he was 14, and he was still wondering about this. I explained to him that the Buddha is not far away from us. I told him that the Buddha is inside each of us. Being a Buddha is being aware of what is inside of us and around us at every moment. Buddha is the love and understanding that we each carry in our hearts. This made Hu very happy. When Hu grew up, he became the director of the School of Social Work in Vietnam. He trained young nuns and monks, young men and women, to help people rebuild the villages that had been bombed during the Vietnam War. Anywhere you see love and understanding, there is the Buddha. Anyone can be a Buddha. Do not imagine the Buddha is a statue, or someone who has a fancy halo around his or her head, or wears a yellow robe. A Buddha is a person who is aware of what is going on inside and outside, around him or her, and has a lot of understanding and love. Whether a Buddha is a man or a woman, young or not so young, a Buddha is always very pleasant and fresh. That's beautiful. We all have the capacity, we all have Buddha nature, but not all of us activate that very frequently. A Buddha is somebody who has activated this Buddha nature all the time, continually. The many arms of a bodhisattva. In my experience, there are Buddhas and bodhisattvas present here in our midst. A bodhisattva is a compassionate person, someone who cares a lot about helping other beings, someone who vows to become a Buddha. You can all be bodhisattvas. Statues or pictures of bodhisattvas sometimes show a being with many arms. They are shown this way because a bodhisattva is someone who can do 1,000 things at one time. Also, The arms of a bodhisattva can be extremely long and can reach very far, helping people in faraway lands. With only 2 arms, we can only do 1 or 2 things at a time. But as a bodhisattva, you have many arms. You can do many things simultaneously. Most of the time, we do not see all the arms of a bodhisattva. One has to be very attentive in order to see the many arms of a bodhisattva. You may already know someone who is a bodhisattva. You may be a bodhisattva. Your friends, your family, bodhisattvas. For example, your mom could be a bodhisattva. She does many things at the same time. She needs an arm for cooking, isn't that true? But at the same time, she takes care of you and your brothers and sisters, so she needs a second arm. And then at the same time, she has to run errands, so she needs a third arm. And she has many other things she does that require more arms. She may have a job, or she may volunteer at your school. So your mom could be a bodhisattva. The same is true for your dad. Look more deeply at your mother and father and you will see that they have more than 2 arms. Do not think that Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are beings who exist only in heaven. They are right here, all around us. You too can be a Bodhisattva if you think of others and do things to bring happiness to them. So I see Bodhisattvas moving in 2 directions simultaneously. It's actually one direction, 2 sides of one direction, toward wisdom, which dismantles wrong notions about beings, selves, and things. This is the twofold egolessness of person and thing. Pudgala and Dharma are the Sanskrit words. So, as we work to dismantle notions, there's also this other urge, this other emotion, which is toward love. Love keeps the bodhisattva engaged. Without love, the bodhisattva only dismantling notions may become apathetic, give up on helping. But there's this momentum, this love momentum, that even though the bodhisattva has dismantled notions, the bodhisattva remains engaged. This is expressed in the Prajnaparamita texts like the Diamond Sutra, which is one of those Prajnaparamita texts. The Diamond Sutra talks about bodhisattvas and says that they will liberate all sentient beings, but they won't hold on to the notion of even a single sentient being. It sounds paradoxical, but it makes good sense. It's because by dismantling these notions of self and other and thing and not thing, real and not real, being and non-being, the bodhisattva is empowered to carry out the love. The love and wisdom work together. We see many Buddhist texts praising the Buddha's love and wisdom. They come in a package. If you are awake, if you are in the present moment, here and now, you too are a Buddha. The only difference between you and the Buddha is that she is a full-time Buddha. You are only a part-time Buddha. It's difficult to be a full-time Buddha. So you have to live in a way that gives the baby Buddha inside you a chance to grow. Then the baby Buddha will radiate light in all the cells of your body, and you will begin to give off this light. So, one way to nourish the baby Buddha inside is to have a regular meditation practice. Just a short time, set aside every day where we can just sit and be with ourselves. Maybe we don't sit, maybe we stand. Maybe we walk around, maybe we don't, maybe we lay down. Whatever it is, we gotta take some time to be with ourselves and notice what's going on. Notice our thoughts. Notice what we see and hear and taste and touch and smell. This is guarding the sense doors. It's not really like a defensive guarding. It's not like a battle. It's like standing at the hub of the wheel and noticing what arises. The breath can be an anchor, can help us settle down into this practice, continually bringing our attention to the breath. Things come up, like sense impressions call for attention. And it's like the Buddha says, when we look deeply at what arises, we touch it with our attention, it pops like a bubble. It's insubstantial. It's impermanent. But we can talk about this for many aeons. And until we actually practice it for ourselves, we won't fully know. So it's like the taste of an exotic fruit. You've never tasted it, but your friend is trying to describe it to you. Your friend goes on, comparing the taste to other things you may be familiar with, saying, oh, it's kind of like an apple, kind of like a pineapple, kind of like an orange. It's sweet, it's tart, on and on and on. While it may be helpful to get us in that direction, we won't ever know the taste of that fruit until our friend hands us the fruit. We grab it up and take a bite. So that's what I'm doing here now. I'm saying, here's this nice fruit. It's simple and profound. We just breathe. We just remain in mindfulness for 5 minutes. Over time, if we practice gently, if we come away from the practice with pleasant feelings, it becomes more likely that we'll return to the practice. It'll become a refuge. If we practice in good times, then we will have created a refuge for the bad times. So, regular sitting practice, sitting and breathing. But sitting and breathing alone someplace is not the end of the practice. We are recharging, we're refreshing ourselves for regular old mundane boring life. We carry over this mindfulness through the post-absorptive period. But a regular setting aside of time is really beneficial. It's helpful for the rest of our lives, off of the cushion. Yeah, so I think I'm done rambling now. I've got my legs crossed. You don't have to cross your legs, but it helps to sit up straight because we're breathing into our deep belly to allow this nice rhythm to emerge. This deep breathing, this calming breathing does things to the body-mind complex, causes relaxation. Oh, happy birthday! I'll stop talking now, and we can sit together on your birthday. Yay! Happy birthday. Breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Yeah, fresh shave. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. In. Out. In, out. Breathing in, I directly experience the in-breath. Breathing out, I directly experience the out-breath. In, out. In, out. We're not counting our breath, we are directly experiencing the in, out. Yes, they can, but we simply notice them. Become curious about the sound. We notice that it's impermanent. It comes and it goes. We return to our breath. Breathing in, I hear a car passing. Breathing out, it is gone. Breathing in, I hear a bird chirping. I'm going to end this with a piece of this Mahamudra, the moonlight. But what should I share? All defilements and afflictions originate from conceiving as real the transient aggregates of being. Wrong view. Only by perceiving this and investigating the realms of this self can a yogin eliminate it. The wrong views about the self and the world, in the past, present, or future, as real or not real, eternal or not eternal. These dualistic discriminations, false imagination. Only by meditating upon the truth of shunyata, emptiness, interdependence, can one eliminate the deluded view and the clinging to I and mine. Such an elimination terminates continuation through samsara, caused by clinging, addiction, and the rest. In this way, liberation is finally achieved. Oh, watch your own self, for it represents intrinsic reality. If you are unable to watch with an undistracted mind, you will fail to penetrate the forest of substance, and you will lose the gem of true reality. For a distracted mind is incapable of realization. Look at yourself with an undistracted mind. Keep your undistracted awareness without conceptualizing it as real or unreal. To remain undistracted is to be a king or a queen among meditators. Mahamudra is a state of no discrimination, in which there is nothing conceivable to meditate on, not even an atom. So do not meditate intellectually. Apart from letting the mind remain in its own nature, there is no meditation through the manipulation of body and speech. There is no meditation through an antidote for an equipoise and against a non-equipoise. That's all. Thank you for joining me. I'll be back. Feel free to send a message or leave a comment. Bye-bye. Hope you have a wonderful day.